All right, so for my 3D printing project, I originally had with this desire or interest in making a coffee mug. Um, I like coffee mugs. I wanted to see how durable or how easy it was to kind of create a cylinder. I was a little bit more with some of the other shapes and things that you could get from the home, and it was really, really tough to get it to do what I wanted it to do. It took me a little while to kind of figure out how to get it into inches so I could imagine or visualize it a little bit better. So I went with a box instead. I could easily see myself using this box. I need something to hold my pencils anyway. My daughters like to put their jewelry and little trinkets in there. I could also see this as a really cool way to like make larger scale cubes. I certainly don't know how much that would cost to have that printed. Um, but I was able to kind of tinker with it and get a box, and then I was able to get a lid. I was able to put a bottom in it and make it all connect. It's very similar to my Cricut that I use. So my Cricut has software where you splice and where you can group things together and make that in design formatting. This was just a little bit harder for me because it was 3D and I was having a hard time visualizing it. But what I could say for the purpose of this assignment and tinkering with this technology, it's really, really cool. Our students, they often get the opportunity to do full scale hearts and lungs, and that way they can like touch and feel and see how something's put together. There's a lot of really cool x-rays done now with CT scans and virtual studies, so you can actually see someone's maybe they have like an appendix issue or something where you can actually see it because of the CAT scan. So our students, they get to participate in things like anatomy labs where there's 3D printers and they can print like a whole entire heart, which is really, really cool. For me, in terms of my career, I don't know that I necessarily would use this particularly. I plan on when I retire to actually be more to have a business where I might be able to actually craft, to do a lot of etching and painting and a lot of different things. And so I could see myself actually printing up tools that might work more with my hands or be able to do some of those things. Jokingly, when I was looking at this assignment this week, my husband was watching some of the videos with me and he's like, oh, now you want a 3D printer, don't you? And I was like, these are like $1,000 for a really, really good one. And he's like, nah. And so he was looking on Amazon to try and find me a 3D printer. And I was like, we're not buying a 3D printer. We don't have room for that. But he knows me. When I find a new technology, he knows that I'm gonna like tinker with it and play around with it and see if I can find something that really works for me. I need a lot more time with this software. I tried it a couple of days ago and it was giving me a little bit of some frustration. But I could see this for me for art projects or things like that that I might be able to sell. The potential for 3D printing is huge. I think it always has its good and its bad, just like any technology. It's kind of like opening up Pandora's box. And so I know that there's been discussion about, well, gosh, if you make a 3D gun, you print your own gun or your own tool like that. I think that people would be concerned about regulating it and making sure that, we don't have crime and some of those things. But I'm also, again, a sci-fi person. And, I think about some of the fantasy fiction, science fiction that I've read where, you print something you need. And I think that that's what's really cool about like the Science Space Station having a 3D printer where they can print what they need to try and solve a problem, a tool, a part to something that might have broken. I think it's a really cool way to look at it. For me, because I'm more into arts and I'm more into kind of aesthetics, I can see this as a really cool example of being able to craft those things. But I could also see myself using it at home when something breaks. So like there's been a couple of times where our refrigerator has had like a piece of the shelf busted And it would have been nice to be able to like just print up a new piece instead of having to spend so much money to get a new part. One of our shelves broke and it was like $100 to get a new shelf. And I was just like, geez, that just seems crazy. So a screw or a piece of a desk, you know, being able to kind of put it together and print it and get it all kind of manufactured in your own home, I think has some really great uses. As a health use, I think that it's really cool. There are things that we talked about in the videos about being able to print with cells and help create organs and transplant opportunities to give quality of life. So I think that with anything, we have to be careful about how we use it and not abuse it. So this was really cool. I certainly think that for the future, I'm going to be playing with it some more. I can't help myself when I get started with something like this. I really want to try and master it. And once I get something a little bit more tangible, I think I'll print for sure. But the box was a good starting place. This took me probably about an hour after I scrapped the mug. It wasn't working. And so I think I'd have to use like the cylinder or the cone or try and figure it out. I understood the concept with the training video about shapes, but I was having a hard time getting it to shape the way I wanted to. So thank you for this opportunity. It was really cool. And I'm excited about the future of 3D printing. It's always been one of those really amazing technologies that I think is just fascinating. So